Behavior analysis in true crime delves into the intricate world of understanding criminals' behavior, experiences, and psychological makeup in order to crack cases and prevent future crimes, right? So tonight we are thrilled to have behavioral analysis Indigo on board to dissect the Watts case. Okay, so picture this. Cicely, sorry, that was a throwback too. When I wrote that, I couldn't. I had Sophia's voice in my head. Picture this: Sicily, 2018, but really it's Fredericks, Colorado, 2018. Chris Watts stands on the summit of his porch, rocking back and forth, calling out to his family to come back to barrel rush him. What was going through his mind as he flashed a duper's delight smile? Well, we have juicy details and we have Indigo here to help us with all the juicy details.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me.
So Indigo is a creator that I found on YouTube. She's been covering the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case a lot with other influencers, Flawless Nina and Ivory Rose, I think is the other person. But she's doing such a great job. I thought, and I cover the Gypsy Rose case, but we also cover the Watts case. And I thought, ooh, she would be really good for the Watts.
Give her a life jacket and let's push her out on the raft.
Come on over.
Get her on the island.
The water's warm, so let's bring her up. Okay, so we have Indigo. Indigo has 2 degrees in behavioral analysis, and she says she is going for more. Welcome to Parawomenradio and Crafted Evidence, Indigo. Hi, Indigo.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on tonight on Parawomenradio, so thank you.
Oh, we're really happy to have
your website. Super, super impressed with your work.
Thank you so much.
So I know that a lot of our audience is a Gypsy Rose fan. Have you ever covered the Watts case?
I haven't, and I'm going to be honest, it's a lot to really get through just because of how emotional it can be. It's a very tough case because children are involved, and that's really difficult for me, especially. I have 2 kids of my own, and for that reason, I've tried to avoid it a bit, but I've seen things here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, it can get really negative. Amy and I talk about this a lot. Like sometimes you need to take a break, from this case because it gets emotional, for you even to just talk about it sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm excited to be here, and I feel tonight, I can be strong about that, and I'm just ready to analyze and speak with both of you.
There is so much to the case that I had to really whittle down the clips that we were going to look at. So I haven't included any of the children, so I don't think you'll have to worry. I mean, worry is such a light thing to say, but I mean, we won't be looking at the kids tonight. Although I am hoping you will come back and do more because there is so much evidence, video evidence out there to watch of Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger and Shanann Watts and the girls and the family. I mean, there's just so much. And I've always thought to myself, man, I wish I could read body language. So I'm really excited.
Is this your full-time job, like your career? Or was this just something you're interested in?
Well, it started off as a necessity, and then it became something I do more out of passion for it, more out of just already having the knowledge. And then I expanded that knowledge, and this is sort of what it became. But this isn't my full-time job. I actually am the founder of a nonprofit organization. I provide resources such as small grants to families who are affected by rare birth defect congenital diaphragmatic hernia. So that's more what I do full time. I homeschool my kids. So things like that. Yes, that's my website. That's the website. with a child. And just for some reason, this has been emotional in the past, but I am, I suppose, more capable now. And it might even have more to do with my nonprofit organization, because I do deal a lot with children passing away, and that's a struggle. Luckily, that doesn't happen too often, but that's always difficult. And so I think dealing with that more, dealing with parents who have been through that more and more has really toughened me up a bit.
Yeah, I think we would love to have you back, even to talk about that in relation to, like, I can't imagine, Amy and I were talking about this the other day, like, you lose your daughter, but then you also lose your 2 grandchildren at the same time. Like,
Three of them.
how, do they cope? I'm sure that's like for a whole nother, episode, but, we think about that all the time when we cover this case.
Absolutely. I speak to a lot of grieving families who, I mean, they've lost their daughter. I'm not saying just because that, like, to minimize it, but they've lost their one child. To lose 2 grandchildren and your daughter, that, I mean, just horrific doesn't really describe it.
And a son-in-law. I mean, as much as what he did is horrible, I think before, remember, they loved him very much. It's like he died. Yeah.
It's very true. It's very true. And it's not only that. I mean, and I don't want to like compare apples to oranges either, but like the Watts had other grandchildren, but these were the only grandkids that they had. I mean, it took out all of their family. It's got to be rough on the Rucheks.
And it's always different, like when it's your biological kids, because I feel like when it's your daughter's kids, like they're coming over more, they're doing things because it's like that, connection versus like an in-laws. But I don't know, like the whole dynamic of the family, it seems like they were all pretty close, but yes, they got in arguments and clearly disagreements a lot, but just so many weird dynamics in this case to try to cover too.
There's still grief there when you lose even a son-in-law in this case, or, I mean, you both know, I'm sure, but there's grief involved, of course, still in cases like this. And I believe truly and personally that Chris didn't have the connection that they had with him. Just my personal belief. I don't believe that was reciprocal.
Ah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm so interested for you to dive into these clips with us and kind of see what you pick up versus, like what we're like, and see what we find out here.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. So but first let's talk a little bit about you, Indigo. So you have this nonprofit, and you started taking. Where do you go to get these degrees in behavioral analysis? How do you do that?
It's certificates, not necessarily degrees. There's not a degree. That's okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
No, I appreciate that.
I'm certified, but you go to, I mean, there's different places. You could take Joe Navarro's body language courses. You can take the Paul Ekman group, which is what I would personally suggest.
Okay.
I took courses with the Center for Body Language. For some reason, I always say it's for body language. And that's actually one that I don't mean this in a slanderous way, but I wouldn't recommend. And you have to do a lot more to become certified through them. It costs a lot more. I just feel that's a little more, I guess, time consuming and financially consuming than the Eggman group and other places. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay. And and when you take this type of course, what type of things do you learn? Is it psychology, or because my background, I have my BA in psych soc, so I'm just very curious, like what type of courses are you doing?
So you learn about micro expressions and you learn about the different stances and just different parts of the body. And I'm not sure how to explain it past that. A lot of it is micro expressions. A ton of it is micro expressions and learning to pick up on the tonality, on, even color psychology. But really, as far as psychology goes, it doesn't go too much into that. That's something I studied separately because I actually wanted to be something like a criminal psychologist at one point. I wanted to work in courtrooms with people. So that's more what I wanted to do. And so that was a separate thing. And the body language courses I have taken don't really go into that, but to have that knowledge alongside the body language analysis is really helpful because you can try to figure out why someone would do what they're doing. And it's not always absolute, but you can try to figure that out, why people behave the way they do, and what parts of the brain might be active when they're moving and behaving the way they are. And so that was separate, but that's something that I was also fascinated in.
It's a tool, and it's a really good, interesting tool. And yeah. So do you guys want to start looking at some of the clips? And
yeah, let's jump in. I was just thinking it'd be so interesting, the fact that I might be in the grocery line next to you and not even know that you're picking up on some of my mood and what I'm feeling based on the knowledge you've learned in these courses. Like, have you ever noticed someone in some really bad distress and kind of just maybe talk to them because you noticed their body language was a little off?
I wouldn't say talk to them, because in the cases that I'm thinking about, in the situations I'm thinking about, I didn't really have that opportunity. And I also, I'm not sure that I will always say the right thing to those people. I don't feel really comfortable with that, but I'm also not always analyzing body language. So there are situations where I have picked up on people in distress and analyzed their body language, and I've been able to tell that. But in a lot of situations, I'm really not trying to analyze them the way that I do people in true crime and other situations. So it depends, really. I think that with body language analysis, what a lot of people believe is that you're being analyzed all the time. And really, it's more when I'm actively trying to analyze someone. Now, of course, there's things here and there I'll just naturally pick up on, someone being upset or nervous, or, things here and there. But I'm not always actively analyzing body language.
people say that to me sometimes too when they find out what my degree is, and they're like, "Oh, she's gonna like
analyze me."
And I'm like, "No, it's not all that. Trust me." But you do learn to. You kind of are. It's internal, though. I find I move through life and I recognize things and I just kind of like note it, but it becomes part of your life. You just, you're like, oh, that person's doing this. But I will say, Jen, that when you said that, I was thinking too, I'm like, oh, I'm on camera. She's probably looking at my face when I said that.
Oh.
No, like I'm an empath. So I don't, have you guys ever, like, one day, this was like earlier this year, there was a mom coming out of ABA therapy, which my son does, and she just like had this vibe about her. And I'm like, this woman's having a bad day. And I've never done this in my life. But I went up to that woman and I gave her a hug. And I'm like, you're doing a great job. Like, I knew she was dropping her kid off. I knew she was having a hard day. Like, have you ever had that feeling when you just like look at someone and you're picking up a vibe that something's wrong, or they just need someone to be like, say something kind?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. I always feel so sorry for people. And I mean, it's one of those things that, like I said, I don't actively analyze, but there are things like that you can just naturally pick up on without knowing things about micro expressions. And, and in most situations, people aren't trying to be performative. People aren't trying to be deceitful just in everyday life most of the time. That really happens more in social media, I would say.
That's a good
Really?
point. Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Amy, I have to think that's happened to you because I feel like you're an empath too.
Oh, yeah. But, I have learned to, I don't
Stay
know.
in your lane, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I don't like, you can't save the world. I'm at that point where I'm in a very self-serving mode right now where I can't save the world. I want to, I really do, but I just can't. So
yeah, it gets draining.
Yeah. You got to let other people do it. Some of the work. So Chris Watts, I think one of the most famous interviews that he gave was his Summit on the Porch. So on August 18th, his family went missing. And then the next day, this was August 19th, he's standing on a porch in a t-shirt that his wife bought him, begging for his family to come home and barrel rush him. And I think a lot of people, when they talk about the Watts case, this is the interview that they knew that something was amiss. This was it. So this is like an easy one, Indigo, I'm sure. But I thought we would start with this one.
Okay, yeah, I've actually never seen this one personally.
Oh, you haven't?
Really?
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
good.
Yeah, 'cause I've avoided so much of the case.
Okay, there's two of them. He did two of them. I've got them both for tonight. I've got this interview, and then I also want you to look at Nichol Kessinger's walk down the aisle at the funeral.
Okay.
I needed a walk.
Wait,
I
you're
needed
making it
a
sound like there was a wedding, Amy, walking down the aisle.
Walking down the aisle at the funeral.
I mean, she's walking down the aisle.
There's no weddings in this story. There's all
Watch, now it's gonna blow up on social media that Nichol Kessinger got married.
Yeah, I know. Or they'll say something about me for saying it. Okay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. This is Chris Watts and his Summit on the Porch. So I thought how we would do this. If anyone wants to talk, just say stop, and I will stop it, and then we'll have a discussion. Do you want to do that? I'll play some of it, but if there's something that you see right away you want to say, just tell me to stop. Okay.
Okay, yes, that's what I did with other people. So
Okay, good.
I'm gonna raise my hand because I'm a loudmouth, Amy, so that we can still hear the soundbite.
Okay.
I'll just wait for you to ask questions, but it's the most important thing. I'm not sure. I'll just wait for you to ask questions, but it's. I want them wherever they're at. I have no inclination of where they're at right now. I've exhausted every friend that I know of, and every friend that I have has called friends that Shanann has that maybe I didn't know about, and it's just it's vanished. She's not. When I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town. She wasn't here.
Can you pause here?
Yep.
So the first few things I want to point out here are that there's no drooping of features. There's no exhaustion. The lower palpable fissures under his eyes there are not drooping. There's no indication that he's in any distress about this. No grief. There's no glabellar furrowing inwards. There's no indication that he has any grief around this, which is just a huge sign that he's guilty of something. But there was some eye blocking there when he says wherever. He says the word wherever and his eyes close. It's very subtle, but there's some eye blocking there when he has no blink rate. That veers from what's considered his baseline in this video. So already right off the bat, there's something there. Now, of course, we know he is guilty, but just those things I wanted to point out right off the bat.
Just those things alone, just jumped right out at you.
Right. If we didn't know already what had taken place, then that would be pretty alarming and could indicate guilt. just right off the bat. If we didn't already know that he was, then that's something I would look for.
Let me ask you a question. A lot of people say when people are lying, they look up to the left or to the right. Is that a myth, or is there some logic to this?
There's no scientific study proving either. Now, I have taken courses where that's actually been taught, where eye accessing could be up to the left or right, but when it's more emotional, it would be down. And in regards to the past and the future, you look to your left for the past and your right to the future. And I believe to an extent that could be true, but there is no scientific evidence proving that wrong or right. With eye accessing, it just gives you more time to think about what you're going to say. It's recalling information. And I think it depends, but I don't believe that that is an indicator, especially not on its own, of deception.
I have heard that looking up and indicates past, future, or something like that. Does anyone else do this? Like when to test it, you're like, you try to think of a thought and then you like look where you're looking.
Yeah. See, I look up a lot, and I think that's because sometimes I lose my train of thought with the brain fog, but it's more like I'm looking up at, like for the thoughts to, pop in my head or something. And I'm like, it's not that I'm deceiving. It's just like, I'm thinking, I don't know.
Well, context matters. Yeah. Context matters a ton, of course. If it's something that like as factual and simple as your name, for instance, obviously, now that's so simplistic there, but just something factual and that you shouldn't have to recall and think about, that might indicate, along with other clusters of behavior, something else is going on, that you might be deceptive there. So usually that itself is just, like you said, thinking, wondering, you're trying to remember what you were going to say or what you're going to say, things like that.
Yeah. Something I noticed with Chris's eye contact with this journalist. So Indigo, I was a journalist here in Atlanta for a while. So I've done a million of these types of interviews. And I am really shocked how Chris has locked eyes with this guy. Like, he is desperate to be in charge of this interview. And typically people aren't like that. So it's almost like he is trying his best to convince this guy that he's being honest.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I was talking about with lack of blink rate and why it's so strange when he basically blinks. There's eye blocking there, which is closing your eyes for a bit of time longer than a quick blink around the word whenever. It was interesting there because he doesn't have that blink rate, and he is, as you say, locking eyes. There's no indications of stress there. And this is more typical with a psychopath, with someone who has antisocial personality disorder. And it's also very controlling, trying to come across as believable, open, honest. Look, I'm making eye contact. I'm not looking away. My eyes aren't shifting away from you. Therefore, I'm honest. And so that
I'm
is
not nervous. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Definitely.
Before we go on, I just realized I forgot to say that we're coming to you today on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Hi, everyone. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. However you do that on the platform you're at. It helps us dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help us out, and it's really, really appreciated. Sorry, didn't mean to bust in, but I forgot to do that before we started. I think it's very interesting that Chris is able to maintain eye contact. I do think that's interesting, and that's a good point.
Yeah, I would love to reach out to this reporter, and I'm sure I know someone who's worked with this person. You know, it's like the degrees we were saying. Everyone's originally from Michigan. There's some connection, but I would like to talk to this reporter and see if after they shot this, they called the cops right away to be like, you need to look at this. Because this
I always thought it was a woman that was doing it. I thought it was a woman.
Oh, I know the gal you're talking about. Well, there was a couple, they sent what is called an MMJ out to do this. So a girl went there by herself with the camera to shoot this, you know, like they weren't live there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then there was another station, whatever the competing station is, they went to, and it was a guy. It'd be interesting to talk to both of them and be like, did this strike you as weird to where you reached out to cops to come watch this? Or did you like wait for them to watch the news that night? Because if this were me, I would be like texting, you know, the sheriff's department contact that I know and be like, you might want to come look at this footage.
You might want to come look at this.
Yeah, something is not right. And I don't want you to wait till 6 o'clock to see this.
Yeah, you might want to come look at this mess. There is a question for you, Indigo, and Gerald wants to know, what if he took a pill like Xanax or similar? Do people act like that?
That could definitely change the way you analyze body language. It could change the meaning behind it. So that could be possible.
Thrive patch.
I don't think that's what we're seeing, but I believe that could be possible.
I have heard people take Xanax or something like that for a polygraph. So it seems like they could do it for that too.
That's interesting. Because physically it would calm your heart rate down.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
it'd be interesting to take a poly without Xanax and with it and see how different it is, you know?
Well, the thing that I want to point out is that, or I guess is that when you keep your eyes open for a long period of time, your eyes normally water up. I personally don't have enough experience with something like that to say for sure that would change the natural tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes it more interesting, again, when we're seeing something like this and there are no tears and there's no blink rate. I believe with the stress, there would still be somewhat of a blink rate there. There would be something there. It wouldn't be like this where there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's just no panic whatsoever. Your kids are missing. Like,
right.
No panic whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back into it.
I have no idea like where they went. And it's just earth shattering. I don't feel like this is even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from.
Chris, when did you learn that they weren't here?
Like yesterday, well, I texted her a few times, called her, I didn't get a response, which that was a little off. And then her friend Nicole showed up about a little afternoon. I could see it on the doorbell camera. And I was like, hey, what's going on? She's like, I can't get a hold of Shanann. And that's when I was just like, all right, something's not right. If she's not answering the door, she said the car was here. It's like, I got to go home. And we got here, got inside, and nobody was here. Nothing.
And so I read that Shanann kind of...
What is all the lick-lipping about?
So that's
why can't I say that? Lip licking. Jeez. Sorry.
So now we're seeing more indications of stress with the increased blink rate and the lip licking, but we're not seeing eyebrow flashes or forehead creasing, no raising the eyebrows, no illustrators, no movements that emphasize what he's saying. So that nervousness coming around this being brought up, this being a nightmare, this Nichol showing up and all of these things coming up, he's not emphasizing the parts we should see him emphasize. He's not raising his eyes and emphasizing certain things. He's being more nervous about this, more stressed about this, and it doesn't make sense to be more stressed about this than prior to this where naturally he's talking about they're missing, and it's just an interesting time for all of this nervousness to appear. But that lip licking there, it can be a self-grooming behavior if you're concerned about how you look on TV in an interview, but that would be more consistent. And it might be throughout this interview, possibly. We haven't watched the whole thing, but so far appearing around this part is more an indication of nervousness. Our mouth dries up when we're stressed, particularly when we're being deceitful. Not always, but a lot of the time it's when we're being deceitful. And so that's what we're seeing here.
It is strange. He's not even, that's a good point. Nothing is moving up here at all.
Yes.
He looks like he might have some Botox done, honestly. He has no, I mean, for real though, he has like no wrinkles. Can we pin Daniel's comment? He has a pharmaceutical background. And I just thought that was interesting about the Xanax. No, Daniel.
Oh,
Daniel
I don't see. Oh, this one?
I can't. Yeah, I couldn't figure out why I can't pin. I don't know. That's weird.
I think it's because of the whole thing. I didn't add. I think you changed your email or something. I don't think we're merged tonight.
I've heard the theory of the lip licking as washing lies away. Have you guys ever heard that kind of analogy?
I personally have never heard that. I just know that is an indication of stress or it's self-grooming, but self-grooming would come with a lot of other things, pushing hair back and just other behaviors that indicate he's more concerned with how he looks than what's taking place. And that in itself would be strange when he's discussing his wife and daughter's missing and what's going on. That would still be strange, but I don't believe that that's what we're seeing here. It's nervousness, it's anxiety. That with the increased blink rate, as he goes from locked in to blinking, tells me that he's more nervous than anything else.
That's interesting.
Gerald's 2 cents asks, he says he has no memory of the porch interviews. Is he lying or was he in some sort of psychosis?
There are no indications of psychosis that I'm personally seeing.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's in any kind of psychosis to me. I wouldn't say he was. But, I don't ever diagnose people, so I don't want to weigh in on that either. I don't want to say what Chris is or isn't. Dry mouth is definitely a sign of high emotional stress, Daniel says.
Yeah, because like Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday, and they were just getting ready to start back again.
And so what kind of...
So I just caught this. He's literally on the camera lying to the news crew. He knew that Bella was supposed to start school today or yesterday, right?
He kind of pauses too.
There's that verbal distancing as well, or not distancing, it's in the past tense instead of she's supposed to start. If we can find her, he already is confirming in that manner that she might be gone, that he believes she's gone, deceased. But then that with the lip compressing, you're seeing here him holding back something, thoughts, words, emotions. Just the lip compressing is usually the holding back of something.
Oh.
You know what's interesting too, you guys, is Nichol set up this news interview, all the crews to come out. And he texted Sandy and said, should I do it? Sandy said, I wouldn't do it if I were you.
Yeah.
Thank God he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's crazy that Sandy would tell him not to do it, but okay.
I think she had so much faith in him.
Yeah.
that she thought he would never do anything like this, and she was looking out for his best interests. But good thing
She definitely was. She definitely
Good
was.
thing
But I
he-
just,
Some people
I'm just giving you a heads out. There's a tornado about 20 miles south of me, so if the power goes out, that's why.
oh, okay.
Wow.
What were you going to say, Indigo?
Sorry, I was just going to say some people may believe that, the media is going to twist the narrative either way, whether you're lying or not, so maybe don't do it. So I believe that might be why she told him. I'm sure you knew that by now. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. That I mean, I don't trust the media, and I guess if I loved somebody, I would. But I don't know if my daughter was missing, I would just want whatever I could to be put out there to find her. So I don't know.
Right.
All right, let's go back into it. That's what I love about us is we can all we can come on the panel and we can all disagree, but it can be just perfectly fine. We don't all have to agree to get along here.
So your friend Nichol kind of tipped you off at something.
Yeah, because she was here at the front door, and that's when I kind of knew, okay, if she's not answering anybody else either, this isn't like her. Because I mean, she works that direct sales business, and that's what she does. And for her not to respond to any of her people, if she doesn't respond to me, that's fine. I mean, she's busy, she's got stuff going on, but not to respond to her people, though, that was.
I just want to say, when I heard him say her people, I knew then that he was using Nichol Kessinger's words, because she said his people in the interview. So that there was some conversation about her people, and you say her people, or this is what you say you didn't expect her people, or something like that, because that's so Nichol Kessinger.
So I found it interesting, he actually has an eyebrow
Oh,
flash.
you mean Atkinson or Kessinger?
Dickinson, I meant Kessinger, sorry.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, no, you did say Kessinger, but you mean she kind of coached him, you think?
Yeah, I think so, because
Yeah.
Nichol Kessinger calls family people, your people,
Yes.
instead of your family. And
Your
so
house,
that's when
that
I knew. Yeah.
God, I didn't ever think of that, Amy. That's a good pickup. Those kids. He says that a lot. And she says that too.
Yeah. What, Indigo? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that there's that eyebrow flash all of a sudden around anyone else. She didn't answer anyone else, so that was pretty interesting there to see. And then he has some illustrators, just emphatic movements in relation to what he's saying that emphasize what he's saying around this part where he didn't have that in other instances. So that's something else to pay attention to here.
Okay, I'm going to take it back just a little bit because I want to look at that.
Okay.
Busy, she's got stuff going on, but not to respond to her people, though, that was not like her.
Chris, you've got a beautiful family, and it looks like you all love each other very much. What went through your mind?
I see the eye block now.
I was trying to get home as fast as I can. I was blowing through stoplights. I was blowing through everything, just trying to get home as fast as I can, because none of this made sense. If she wasn't here, where did she go? Once I got here, it was all right, who can I call? Who do I know that she could be with right now? If she went to a friend's house, where could she be staying? And we went through everybody. I mean,
you stop here real quick.
Everything in my contact list. And
yes,
so sorry. He does have those illustrators, but there is absolutely that duper delight that pops up there. Just this positive tonality written all across his face as he says, "I was speeding home," and then that with the rapid eye blinking. All of this tells me that that's not what actually took place. And of course, we know that by now, but that's very much what I'm seeing.
He was looking for a dumpster to get rid of his clothes and throw away their stuffed animal.
Right. It wasn't the situation that he's saying it was, where he was rushing home to do anything other than that, to figure out what's actually going on.
Does his chopping actions mean anything? Because he's doing more hand movements now, I noticed.
So those are the illustrators. Those are an emphasis.
Those are illustrators? Oh, okay. Sorry.
And her,
I also
her
find
friend's
it
contact
like
list.
his emotion really changed too there when the reporter said, Chris, you have a really beautiful family. Like he gets really awkward there for a minute, almost like he feels like he's being interrogated by a cop versus a reporter who's trying to help you get your story out to find your family.
Right. There's so much here that conflicts with someone who would be looking for their family. And exactly that. That's an excellent catch. He starts to have this nervousness around specific parts that veer away from how calm and casual he was prior to this.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Contact list and her friend's contact list, and nothing has come up. Everybody has said like they haven't heard from her either. I'm just hoping right now that she's somewhere safe, and maybe she's there. But right now it's just like, if she's vanished, like I want her back so bad. I want those kids back so bad.
That's got to be a duper's delight smile right there. Right?
You should screenshot that, Amy. That's a good thumbnail for the future.
All right, let me grab that right
Yes.
quick. We'll get that.
Well,
Got it.
Well, and the emphasis came around she's there, not wherever she's at. It's she's there. Hopefully she's there, which was pretty interesting as well. You had you saw forehead creases and an eyebrow raise around she's there. Hopefully she's there, and not any other instance.
Found.
Yes.
I feel like that's the first time I've seen the creases in his face this entire time.
Right, exactly. He's not emphasizing other points in this to have that emphasis around she's there, and it's such a major one. And then the lip licking and everything that you're now seeing. It's just a lot going on that veers away from his baseline. That tells me something else is going on, that there's importance around these bits, but not around these bits, perhaps because he's being deceptive or because something else is going on there. It could be Botox in some instances, but I don't believe we would see the forehead creasing at all.
I don't think he had Botox.
No, I don't either.
Right.
I think that and if you notice too, like he finally breaks eye contact and he's doing a lot of like looking off into different directions. Finally, he's not like lasered in on whoever the reporter is.
Yes, absolutely. And the increased blink rate, just all of this going on. He's so nervous, but just the emphasis in particular around she's there. It's so interesting to me because he's saying there's a place and I hope she's in it.
It's just, he's so, I can't stand him.
Cringe.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the hard part. Your first thought is, where are they? I want them back. Your second thought is,
and at certain points, it does look like he's literally going to eat his lip. Like I literally think he's going to eat his lips.
Yes. He's holding back a lot.
Oh, is that what that means? Oh, okay.
Your second thought is that you're afraid people think you may have done something.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's gonna have their own opinion on anything like this. I just want people to know that I want my family back. Like, I want.
Why would anyone start off like that? Everyone's gonna have their opinion. Like, he's already painting himself as the villain. Why would we start thinking about that? That's really it's like he knows he's guilty,
Right. There's this defensiveness almost without him being accused directly yet.
I've never seen a dad give a soundbite like that when their kids or wife were missing. Like, people might think it's me, but it's not. No, they're focused on the kids and talking about, like, my daughter's got blonde hair and it's curly and she has a birthmark on her shoulder, you know, like,
Right.
no specifics.
And that's where his focus should be. Verbally, that's where his focus should be, is, you know, if they could be here, please look here. How do we find them? Please look for them. There's this reward. Anything aside from, well, people might have this opinion, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very weird thing to say in a news interview. Like the first one too. I could see maybe like a couple days later, you know, people might think it's me. It's not. But like, this is the very first interview. You have an opportunity to possibly get your kids back, and you're going to talk about yourself.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't do any of this like normally though. But then remember this guy, remember after this case there was another case where the woman, I think some lady kidnapped her or something. She was pregnant and she got kidnapped, and she kidnapped her for the baby, and nobody believed the father, and everyone was like, oh, this is another Chris Watts, and you know, he was doing weird stuff in the interview. So stress makes you do weird stuff, but also he's doing a lot of smiling, a lot of rocking.
Yeah.
There's no grief. There's no remorse. There's no indications of exhaustion. Stress can, you know, definitely make you do weird things and seem guilty when you're not. And so that's why it's so important when there are clusters of behaviors, and also if there's some distancing or things that verbally come out. I mean, that's obviously important, but there would just be clusters, and that's important to look at. And it's important to note that not everybody who does these things is guilty. There are so many factors to everything, your environment, what's going on. There are people who will come off as guilty when they're completely innocent because they may believe in an interrogation room, well, I'm not guilty, there's no evidence stacked against me, I'm going home. So they may come off as more casual and less remorseful because they didn't actually do it. So there are instances like that where people can be wrongfully accused for those reasons, and it's just so important to look at different things.
It is important to look at different things. Daniel wants to know, why does Chris Watts have such a nice, healthy glow to his skin immediately after murdering his family?
I said self-tanner.
Self-tanner. Hey, Lisa, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
That's the best I've got on that. You know, he said he never watched this interview, and he couldn't, because he probably knew what a train wreck it was going to be.
Yes.
Yeah, he does look more pissed than worried. And I agree, Jen Soto looked really like pissed off too. It's weird.
Well, normally though, that would come with more of a chin jut and baring of bottom teeth, nostril flaring, and downward glabella furrowing. If he were feeling more anger, that's what I would expect to see.
I want them here. Like, this house is not the same. I mean, last night was traumatic. Last night was, I can't really stay in this house again, like, with nobody here. And last night I wanted that knock on the door. I wanted to see this kid just running, just barrel rush me and just give me a hug and knock me on the ground. But that didn't happen.
Who are you gonna stay with tonight?
Probably my friend.
What does it mean when he just ate his lips? Does that mean he really didn't mean that he wanted that didn't happen? Because that didn't happen, and then he ate his lip.
It could. I mean, I believe that he's recalling what's taken place in the past where they would do this, but of course we know that he wasn't expecting them to. But that biting the bottom lip, and that to that extent is, I believe someone else stated it before, is controlling the emotions, holding back, controlling, because he does have Jupiter's light in some instances, and it does seem like he is trying not to laugh or trying not to show anything other than him just being neutral and saying what's taking place. But again, with the lack of remorse, the lack of sadness and grief, no glabella furrowing anywhere in this, no emphasis where it should be, tells us something different. So that just that bottom lip biting is him holding back and controlling what he's showing, or thinking he's controlling the emotions that he's expressing.
Indigo, I did a voice analysis on this interview with a private investigator. And in that soundbite that we just heard, it showed that he was being deceptive when he said, like, last night was terrible. Or, you know, like it showed he is not feeling what's coming out of his mouth. And those evaluations are pretty spot on. So it's really interesting that we can take the science of analyzing his voice, and then you take the science of the body language too and put it together. And we all know, like you said, the ending of this, he really didn't want them to come home. He didn't want them to be found. And it's crazy to watch this, you know, in the aftermath and see that all of this kind of aligns with scientific evidence.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I didn't know that you did the analysis of his words and everything. I would actually be interested in seeing that if...
Oh, yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Do you do any type of voice analysis, Indigo?
I don't. I've picked up on things here and there, but I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in any capacity with statement, you know, anything like that. There are things that I know people would typically say in past tense if they're guilty, and I've seen that more when analyzing the body language of someone who's guilty, but I just don't consider myself an expert in that sort of thing.
Kunga Zopa says lots of tiny head shakes left and right, negation while he is speaking. His unconscious is causing us to see the truth via his body. Is his unconscious causing us to see the truth via his body movements?
So the brain refuses to lie. That's very possible. That is what we're seeing. If it were a little wider, then those head shakes would be more an emphasis to his words, and that would just confirm what he's saying more than confirm that he might be deceptive here. So that's a good point, because yes, the brain refuses to lie. It's very difficult to lie, and that very much could be what we're seeing.
Nick and Amanda, unless something develops in the next hours or so, like, I'm hoping that somebody sees something or somebody knows something and comes forward.
What's the hardest part of all of this for you?
Not knowing, like, if they're safe or if they're in trouble. Like, there's just
I'm gonna get caught.
that variable. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, I can't do anything right now from where I'm at. Like, I'm not sure if they're safe somewhere, just huddle up somewhere, or if they're in trouble. And knowing that if they could be in trouble, it's earth shattering right now, and it doesn't feel like it's real.
The weird part of all this, it sounds like everything.
Earth shattering, no tears. Earth shattering.
Right.
He looks earth shattered, doesn't he?
There's so much control in his body language, and there are the things that leak out, the micro expressions, the dupers delight, the very subtle head shakes. There are things like that come out, but he's trying to control so much in this, that with the especially the lip compressions, just holding back things and trying to make sure that how he's viewed is, I mean, he's innocent. He's trying to look for them. They're missing. He did everything. But there's these people he's contacted, but there's all these lip compressions, all these things that he's very much trying to control. And I think that's what we see too with his arms crossed there. I believe his arms are crossed. I can't fully see,
Yes.
but I believe, and that could be casual. When he starts off that way, it could be a casual stance. It really could be, but with the controlled everything else, the lip compressions and the instances where he's nervous, that even seems to be a bit of control possibly there. Him gripping on to make sure that he doesn't do anything that may seem unusual to anyone.
You know, something I was just thinking. You know that 111-minute phone call, Amy?
Mhm.
What if, like, they were planning a whole, like, scripted speech because they thought they would do a statement or talk to the media? Like, what if him and Nichol prepared all of this? Like, you know, kind of the chat was saying, like, some of these words that he used, like, it almost seems calculated. Like, I never thought, did she help him prep for this interview until you said something.
Well, what were they talking about all that time the night before that nobody can remember for 100 and some odd minutes? Like, I think I would remember every word somebody said to me if his family was missing and I spoke to him for that long. I might even record it.
They were
Right.
probably doing a pre-interview. Like, she was like, okay, I'll be the reporter now. I'm going to ask you these questions. And then she maybe even was like, no, don't say that. Say this instead. Never crossed my mind until today.
Well, and just how willing this interview is. Normally when people are guilty of this sort of thing, what I've seen a lot of the time, especially, is someone who emotionally blocks. If they're caught off guard, it's not an interview they want to do. If it's something they want to speed by, there's going to be some emotional blocking, some loud, distracting wails that are performative, that aren't really around the situation, something that keeps the interviewer from asking questions or receiving answers. We would see something like that, not every time, but a lot of the time, or something would come up that would keep them from being able to answer. They would have one foot headed away from the interviewer, something that indicates this isn't something they want to do. So he seems very willing, and that could be because they rehearsed this.
I thought it would be interesting to then, because he did 2 interviews. This is his second porch interview, and he did it with a different. This is the woman that he did it with, and I thought it would be interesting to look at him to see if anything really changes too much. And I popped it forward because I wanted you to be able to see Indigo that what his hands are crossed, and he like stood like this like the whole time, I think, pretty much, except when he would, you know, do his hand gesture movements. So
I think this one was worse for him. The reporter angled themselves where he's pinned in, which is making him uncomfortable, versus when he was like out by the garage, you know, like he can almost, if he had to run or flee, he could. So you can tell. And then you've also got the canines in the back barking their heads off. Yeah. He knows that's not good. So, like, this one to me is way worse than the other interview.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows a lot more is going on at this point, I think.
And his stance a little leans backwards very, very slightly. It's not authoritative. It's not him taking charge of the situation and saying, this is what's taking place and this is what we're going to do. So that's pretty interesting. And it's also not casual. This just confirms to me that this is controlling. He's controlling how he's viewed here, what he's freely expressing, but with those micro expressions and everything else, it's not working as well as he would hope.
Okay, let's see what he has to say. Oh, also, you guys, I live on channels, and at night they take the airboats out, and they've got them out right now. So if you hear anything in the background, it's the airboats.
Yeah, in bed about 2.
What was she going for? A family trip? Or
It was a Thrive direct sales. It was a local event that was down there between a bunch of leaders in the company.
This
Then
person's just
that
prepping right now, but
I left work early that morning, like 5:15, 5:30. So like she barely got into bed pretty much.
This might be a tough question, but did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart.
Is it like Duper's Delight Supreme when you laugh, smile, and chuckle?
No, so that was nervous laughter. Duper's Delight is more on one side of the face. It's more one-sided and a micro expression. Usually it's not very, very apparent. So that was just nervous laughter. And again, I think it's about control, him trying to control how freely he is smiling and happy about the situation. We're not seeing a drooping of features. We're not seeing negative tonality, any grief, exhaustion, remorse. Even with the lower palpebral fissures, it's difficult to see from this distance in particular, but earlier especially, there's no drooping of those fissures. There's nothing that indicates that he feels any sadness or grief around this. And of course, with that chuckle, that just seems him, again, more controlling what's coming out. He seems very happy, honestly, very positive about what took place.
Like completely fine. Doesn't he seem completely fine?
Right, exactly.
Part because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like somebody has to come forward.
You spoke to her family?
this is kind of stuff.
Yeah, they've been in constant contact, like every hour. I mean, everybody back in North Carolina and the East Coast. I mean, from Maine to Florida.
What is her parents saying to you?
They're just like if they need to get on a flight, just let them know, because I mean they feel helpless right now because they're on the opposite side of the country. I mean, this Colorado is, I mean, you can't just drive around and look. I mean, it's just like you wouldn't really know what you're looking for. That's what the cops pretty much told me. That first day I was like, I want to get out and drive around. They said, you wouldn't know what to look for.
Last couple questions. What is law enforcement? What have the police or the sheriffs or your neighbors? Is anybody? What's police saying to you?
Right now, this is what they're doing right now is canines in the sense. I think this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing they've done so far, because yesterday the Federal Police Department did all the searching of the house and try to gather whatever information they could. And with the detectives, officers, and sergeants, and today it's, I mean, obviously with all the activity that's around, it's there's a lot going on around here, and I really hope that all of this can lead to something positive.
You can see really up close here where he got hurt somehow there.
Yeah. There's scratches.
Did one of you say deposit? I thought you did.
Yes, sorry,
No.
I wasn't sure if you heard me.
Okay.
It's interesting when he says all this going on, and then he points behind himself. Whereas all of these other illustrators have been asymmetrical, one-handed, and that's not natural for us to do. That's not casual in any capacity. There's certainly some nervousness around this, of course, with the increased blink rate, especially when prior to this we had seen him, as you said before, locked in, just staring down the interviewer. When he says someone's got to come forward, then we see a bit of an eyebrow flash there, but we're still not seeing labello furrowing. We're still not seeing forehead creasing where we should see it. An emphasis to if they're safe, no emphasis on the word safe, and that being priority to him in any way.
I just think one of the dumbest parts is when he's like, "This has got to stop."
Like, it's so ridiculous.
Like,
it all needs to end right now. Whatever, Chris. Okay, so I thought it would be fun to move on and take a look at the funeral and Nichol Kessinger. I grabbed the footage from Jen and I did is it you and I that did this, or was it?
no, I don't think we did it. We did a live talking about her, but we didn't show the video.
Oh, I'm sorry. This was me. I did it myself. And this is the video of Nichol Kessinger walking down, well, allegedly for entertainment and whatever. It's not been proven, but it is her. I like 99.9999% sure it's her. So this is supposedly Nichol Kessinger at a recent funeral. And I'm just very curious what you think about once she notices the camera and what she's trying to accomplish here, Indigo.
Okay.
Let me turn down that. So I went to that timestamp where you're supposed to be able to hear her, and I couldn't hear it. Could you hear it?
Oops.
I didn't really get a chance to scope it out. Like,
I can't go to the website and get it anymore because they...
Oh, I'm sure they took it down. Yeah.
Yeah, they took it right down. So I am taking it from another person's site and they're talking while it's playing. Let me mute it actually. So you can see right here. Let me see. She walks down the aisle in just a second.
Normally, I would say give a shout out to the person, but this is not their video. This is
it's not. This is Alex Erickson, and we will put the link to everything down in the show notes, in the YouTube show notes that we watch. And we do this for fair play use, and I will also be putting the links for Indigo's channel and her link, and also Jen's. So we see her come around the bend here, and
coming around the bend.
This is a friend's funeral that she's at. I don't think she expected the camera to be there, but what do you think?
She's very hurried. I actually, sorry, it was tiny, and
It is tiny. Here it goes, right here. Here she comes. Let me slow it. Maybe I can slow it down too.
No, it is interesting. You're right. She's hurried, like she just spotted the camera and is like, oh crap. I don't want to.
I was going to ask if this was sped up, but certainly her lower mouth drops as if there's some surprise there.
No, I don't think it is. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It is not sped up. I just slowed it down so we can get a better look at her when she goes by.
But she's so quick.
So it's difficult to tell what how her eyes are there, but of course her mouth does drop. She does seem a little bit surprised, and then quickly she closed her mouth. So yeah, that does seem as if she did not expect.
Let me see if I can get a better video of it. Hold on.
Sorry about that.
No, it's my issue. Maybe I can get it better on a short. No. Let me see. No. Maybe this. Well, she just is moving really fast. So, but here is a short of her happening.
You kind of see her look at someone.
So it seems like there's some mouth shifting there, some dislike and discomfort there, of course. You see the side of her mouth.
I was just going to say that. It looked like her mouth shifted, and then you said it. I was like, I spoke too soon.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely some discomfort there.
She almost seems to me like she's like feeling awkward and she needs to pick out someone in the room to feel better. Like, you know, when you have walking into like a party at a friend's house that you've never been to and you were invited by a friend, you're kind of like looking for that friend. Like I get that vibe.
Yes.
She's kind of like, oh shoot, I'm on camera.
Was there some micro discuss there at the end, Indigo? Right here. See that?
I mean, a bit. I can see that, but I'm just seeing more the shifting of her mouth entirely that direction. I'm not seeing more raising of the upper lip. That's.
She looks at something very at the very end and looks disgusted to me. Right there. That quick look of the eyes. Do you see it?
Yeah, I think in the bigger picture, someone was sitting there next to her. Well, not next to her, but they were sitting down. So, like, I don't know, maybe she
just didn't look at him the whole time. And then all of a sudden it was that quick dart.
So definitely some disagreement and dislike around something there. I hesitate to say disgust. I can absolutely see what you mean there, but there's no crinkling of the nose or anything that comes in a cluster of behaviors that would tell me certainly or not. So I can't say, but I see what you're seeing there, where there is a slight raise of the upper lip.
There's just something there at the end that I think she doesn't like, but I don't, and it's probably somebody she doesn't like, but I can't really tell who.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who were at this funeral who do not like her anymore. You know what I mean? That maybe knew her in life and saw the story unfold and was like, I'm not cool with you anymore. So I'm sure that it took guts for her to go to that service. I'm surprised she did.
I saw that too, Jody.
Do we have a second to look at the police interview of her body language a little bit?
How much of that? I'm so sorry. How much? I guess how long is what I'm trying to say.
Just a few seconds. If you have to go, we totally get it.
Well, how about we do this? We just invite Indigo back for another time, and I want to talk about I want to show your channel again before you leave, and get you situated and make sure that everyone knows about your channel. So you do have this, you have this website, and it's CDH Stars and Angels. And is that your own child right here, or?
No, that's actually one of our board members and her child.
And could you re-say what you do for this nonprofit?
So
you're an advocate for children.
So we provide small grants and resources such as travel expenses, funeral expenses, medical expenses, even medical equipment sometimes, or funds for that, meal expenses and things associated with a rare birth defect, congenital diaphragmatic hernia, which affects most children. They're diagnosed prenatally. Sometimes it's diagnosed older in life, but it's a lifelong, often fatal birth defect. It's very expensive. These families need a lot of support, so that's what we do. We provide small grants, care packages, medical equipment, just whatever would help the family.
Can you shout out the name of it for people who have a hard time reading the screen there? What the website is again?
Yes, so it's CDH Stars and Angels.
Okay.
Is it hard to read?
For me a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that, guys.
No,
okay, so this is her.
Not you. It's my eyeballs.
Oh, okay. That's her website, and if you are interested in finding her over on YouTube, she has a amazing channel. It's called Indigo. She is covering the Lori Vallow case, the Gypsy Rose. I was really excited. I just saw this that you did Sarah Boone. Love to talk about Sarah Boone. Would love to actually talk to you about Sarah Boone, because we cover Sarah. She's such a card.
Yeah. Yes.
I guess that's a nice way to put it. So, so you do lots of Gypsy Rose, which that's a frustrating case.
A lot, yes. A lot of my subscribers seem to really enjoy that case more. I've just built more of a community around that, so I focus a lot on that, but I also try to do other things here and there.
We can get that 100%.
I've covered the Gypsy Rose case. It just got a little too intense for me, so I've backed away from it for a little while. But yeah, it's a good case to cover. It's interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of behavioral stuff that you get out of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Pick me up off the floor, I've fallen down. I can't help myself anymore since you left me alone. Wrap your arms around me like you did